Nostradamus warns the 3 countries that will collapse in 2025. Chaos will reign, borders will crumble, economies will collapse, and the world as we know it will shift in ways we never imagined. This isn't just speculation. This isn't fear-mongering. These are the haunting words of Nostradamus, the legendary 16th century seer whose prophecies have echoed through history, predicting wars, revolutions, and the downfall of great nations. But what if I told you that his visions for 2025 are more terrifying than anything we've seen before? For centuries, Nostradamus's cryptic quatrains have sparked endless debate. Some dismiss them as coincidence, while others see chilling accuracy in his predictions. From global conflicts to economic turmoil, his words have been linked to events that shaped the world. And now, as we edge closer to 2025, a pressing question emerges. Did Nostradamus foresee the collapse of 3 powerful nations? And if so, are we already witnessing the beginning of their downfall? Before we dive into these shocking revelations, take a moment to support this journey. Hit the like button, share this with those who seek hidden truths, and subscribe to the Journey of Wisdom for more deep dives into history's most mysterious prophecies. And if you're someone who craves deeper knowledge, consider joining our exclusive community where seekers of wisdom gather to explore the mysteries that shape our reality. Click join and step into a world beyond the surface. Number 1. France, the next revolution. Nostradamus, the enigmatic 16th century seer, left behind cryptic verses that many believe predict the fate of nations. Among them, his quatrains about France seem eerily relevant to today's unfolding events. In Century 1, Quatrain 14, he writes, "From the enslaved populace, songs, chants, and demands, while princes and lords are held captive in prisons, these will, in the future, be headless idiots, be received as divine prayers." These words paint an unsettling picture, one that seems to mirror modern France, where civil unrest is growing. In recent years, the country has seen mass protests, worker strikes, and widespread discontent over economic struggles, government policies, and social inequalities. Nostradamus's phrase, "from the enslaved populace, songs, chants, and demands," could well describe the streets of Paris today, where voices of frustration rise against the establishment. History shows us that France has a deep-rooted legacy of revolution, from the storming of the Bastille in 1789 to the protests of May 1968. Could 2025 mark the beginning of yet another seismic shift? His words, "princes and lords held captive in prisons," raise chilling possibilities. Is this a prophecy of political turmoil where leaders could be overthrown or imprisoned? In recent times, we've already seen corruption scandals and political figures facing legal consequences. The world is changing fast, and France, a nation with a history of dismantling oppressive regimes, might once again be on the brink of transformation. When the people no longer trust those in power, history has shown that revolutions become inevitable. The phrase, "headless idiots," is particularly striking. Could it symbolize political chaos, leaders losing credibility, or even something as dramatic as the downfall of key figures? Revolutions do not happen overnight. They are the result of years of suppressed frustration, small moments of injustice accumulating until they can no longer be ignored. If we look closely, France has been heading towards such a moment for quite some time. The question is, will 2025 be the year the floodgates open? Social media, economic crises, and ideological divides fuel modern movements faster than ever before. France's protests are no longer isolated events, but part of a global pattern of civil unrest, seen from the US to South America and beyond. The modern world has changed, but the nature of human struggle remains the same. Leaders must learn from history, or they will be doomed to repeat it. If France is indeed approaching another revolution, what can we learn from it? In times of uncertainty, wisdom reminds us to remain grounded. The Buddha once said, "Chaos is inherent in all compounded things. Strive on with diligence." Change is inevitable, but how we respond to it determines our future. If history is repeating itself, then the people of France and the world must ask, will this be a revolution that builds a better future, or just another cycle of upheaval? Number 2. China, the collapse of a superpower. For centuries, Nostradamus's cryptic prophecies have fascinated and unsettled those who seek to understand the future. One of his most chilling predictions, found in Century 1, Quatrain 17, speaks of a sudden downfall, a world shaken by three brothers, and an onslaught of disasters: hunger, fire, blood and plague, all evils doubled. Could this quatrain be pointing to China, a nation that has long stood as a superpower but now faces growing turmoil? Let's break it down. Those at ease will suddenly be cast down, the world put into trouble by three brothers. Their enemies will seize the marine city: hunger, fire, blood, plague, all evils doubled. China has projected strength for decades, but beneath the surface, cracks are beginning to show. Nostradamus's phrase, "Those at ease will suddenly be cast down," could symbolize a dramatic shift in leadership, a rebellion within the Communist Party, or even an uprising by the people. Economic struggles, increasing government control, and rising discontent suggest that stability is not as firm as it seems. The world has already witnessed large-scale protests in Hong Kong, growing tensions over Taiwan, and internal power struggles within China's political elite. Could 2025 be the year when everything unravels? The mention of three brothers has long been debated. Some believe it refers to three global superpowers: China, the US and Russia, engaging in a high-stakes power struggle that could escalate into global conflict. Others argue it symbolizes internal factions within China, with rival leaders battling for dominance. With President Xi Jinping's firm grip on power, is there a hidden rivalry brewing behind closed doors? And if so, could this internal conflict spiral out of control? Now, let's address the most alarming part of the prophecy: hunger, fire, blood, plague, all evils doubled. China has been facing food shortages due to climate-related disruptions, supply chain issues, and economic mismanagement. The nation's strict censorship policies prevent many from seeing the full extent of these problems, but whispers of unrest grow louder. The phrase "fire and blood" could hint at civil unrest or even war. With tensions rising over Taiwan and territorial disputes in the South China Sea, could we be heading toward a large-scale military confrontation? And what about plague? Does this mean another pandemic or a resurgence of health crises? When all these factors are considered together, Nostradamus's vision of widespread suffering seems eerily relevant. If China were to face internal collapse, the consequences wouldn't be confined to its borders. The world's second-largest economy crashing would send shockwaves across global markets, causing financial instability, trade disruptions, and economic crises in countries that rely on Chinese exports and investments. A power struggle within China's leadership could also weaken the country's global influence, reshaping alliances and military strategies worldwide. If the marine city in Nostradamus's prophecy refers to Taiwan or Hong Kong, could this be a warning of an imminent invasion or a struggle for control that plunges the region into war? If conflict breaks out, how will the rest of the world respond? As we step into 2025, the signs of unrest are impossible to ignore. What seemed unthinkable a decade ago, a fractured China, internal chaos, and global repercussions, now appears more plausible than ever. The question is, are we witnessing the early stages of a seismic shift in the global order? Could Nostradamus's warning be unfolding before our very eyes? Now, it's time for you to reflect. Do you see the warning signs? Are we on the edge of history, watching a superpower teeter on the brink of collapse? If you believe that change is coming, type "The storm is coming" in the comments, and let's discuss what this means for the future. Number 3. The United States. A leader falls, a nation divided. Throughout history, great civilizations have risen and fallen, often in ways that seemed unthinkable at the time. Nostradamus, the 16th century seer whose cryptic prophecies have captivated minds for centuries, issued warnings that many believe still hold weight today. One of his most chilling predictions, found in Century 1, Quatrain 26, speaks of a powerful leader struck down by a thunderbolt, a moment of chaos that alters the course of history. The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt, an evil deed foretold by the bearer of a petition. Could this prophecy be pointing to 2025? With rising political instability, deepening divisions and growing unrest, is the United States standing on the edge of a dramatic collapse? Consider this. The US has faced assassinations, political scandals, and internal strife before, but never in an era where technology, global tensions, and domestic polarization are so intertwined. If a significant leader were to fall, would it be just one event, or the beginning of something far greater, a chain reaction that reshapes the nation forever? The phrase thunderbolt could symbolize more than just an attack. It could mean a shocking revelation, a betrayal from within, or even an unforeseen crisis that shatters public confidence. We have seen in history that the downfall of a leader often brings about economic turmoil, civil unrest, or even war. Could 2025 be the year when the world's most powerful democracy faces its greatest internal threat? Tensions are already boiling. Widespread protests, ideological battles between political factions, and deep social divisions have created an environment eerily reminiscent of pre-collapse periods in history. Some experts even suggest that increasing dissatisfaction among states could lead to calls for secession, breaking the nation apart physically as well as politically. What would that mean for the global order? If the US fractures, the ripple effect would be felt worldwide. Markets could collapse, international alliances could shift, and adversaries could seize the opportunity to assert dominance. In times of great uncertainty, we must ask ourselves, are we merely witnessing history unfold, or are we ignoring the warning signs? Is the truth about America's future already written in the past? Now, take a moment and reflect. What do you believe? Are these warnings just speculation, or is there something deeper at play? Nostradamus's words have been debated for centuries, yet time and time again, his visions seem to align with reality. Could we be standing at the precipice of something world-changing? Share your thoughts. Do you see the signs, or do you think history will take a different path? Let's explore this together. Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we move forward, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude. Your presence here means a lot, and it's an honor to have you as part of our community. Feel free to share your thoughts on today's topic in the comments below. If you're new here, just type "I am a newbie" to introduce yourself. And if you've been with us for a while, comment "I seek wisdom" to show your support. Your engagement not only connects us, but also inspires us to bring you more valuable content. Now let's continue this journey together, shall we? Keeping your mind steadfast. During turbulent times, Buddhist teachings. Today's world is filled with uncertainty, economic crises, political conflicts, natural disasters, and pandemics. When everything around us becomes chaotic, how can we maintain inner peace? So how can we train our minds to remain steady amid all these changes? 1. Accepting change, the natural law of life. Life is in a constant state of motion, and nothing remains the same. The seasons shift, the tides rise and fall, and just as day turns into night, so too do our joys and sorrows come and go. The Buddha taught that impermanence, anicca, is the natural law of existence. Everything changes, nothing is fixed. Yet many of us struggle against this truth, clinging to what feels comfortable and resisting what is unknown. But suffering arises not from change itself, but from our refusal to accept it. Nothing is forever except change itself, said the Buddha. When we embrace this reality, we free ourselves from unnecessary pain. Consider a river flowing effortlessly towards the ocean. If a rock appears in its path, the river does not stop. It finds a way around it, adapting and continuing its journey. Our minds, too, must learn to move with life rather than against it. In today's world, uncertainty feels more overwhelming than ever. Job security, relationships, financial stability, all these can shift in an instant. But instead of fearing instability, we can train our minds to remain steady. A tree that bends with the wind does not break. It survives the storm because it does not resist. When we accept that nothing lasts forever, neither happiness nor suffering, we stop clinging to what is temporary and begin to cultivate true peace. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. Rather, we learn to flow with life's changes instead of being consumed by them. The great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, thanks to impermanence, everything is possible. Without change, there would be no growth, no new opportunities, no fresh beginnings. Think about the struggles you've faced in the past, the heartbreaks, disappointments, and losses that once seemed unbearable. Yet, here you are, still standing. Over time, pain faded, wounds healed, and new joys emerged in their place. Just as no storm lasts forever, neither do our hardships. This realization alone can bring great relief. When faced with uncertainty, ask yourself, is this situation permanent? The answer is always no. Knowing this, we can face challenges with greater courage and less fear. To cultivate this acceptance, start by observing small changes in daily life. Notice how the morning light shifts as the seasons pass, how your emotions fluctuate throughout the day, how even the strongest feelings eventually fade. Through mindfulness, we train ourselves to let go of attachments and embrace the present moment as it is, without grasping or resisting. Meditation can also help develop this steadiness. By sitting with our thoughts and observing them without judgment, we practice meeting change with equanimity. In turbulent times, the mind that clings to control will suffer, while the mind that accepts and adapts will find peace. So, instead of resisting life's natural ebb and flow, let us learn to trust in its rhythm. The greatest strength lies not in rigid resistance, but in the ability to bend, adjust, and keep moving forward. As the Buddhist proverb goes, let go or be dragged. The choice is always ours. 2. Keeping a clear mind. Don't let emotions take over. In times of uncertainty, when negative news floods our screens, social media is filled with heated debates, and the future seems clouded with doubt, it's easy to let emotions take control. Fear, anger, and anxiety can quickly consume us, making it difficult to see reality as it truly is. But if we allow ourselves to be swept away by these emotions, we lose our ability to think clearly, react wisely, and find peace within. The Buddha taught that the mind, when undisciplined, is like a wild monkey, constantly jumping from one thought to another, restless and easily disturbed. If we do not train our minds to remain steady, we will be at the mercy of external events, reacting impulsively rather than responding with wisdom. Instead of letting emotions dictate our actions, we must cultivate mindfulness, observing everything with clarity rather than judgment. Ask yourself, when you hear distressing news, do you react immediately with fear or frustration, or do you pause and reflect before forming an opinion? True wisdom lies in stepping back and seeing things as they are, not as our emotions paint them to be. There is an old Zen story about a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors came to console him, saying, "What bad luck?" But the farmer simply replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, "What good fortune!" Again, the farmer said, "Maybe." Later, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses and was thrown off, breaking his leg. The neighbors lamented, "What a tragedy!" But the farmer remained calm and said, "Maybe." A week later, the army came to recruit young men for war. But because the son had a broken leg, he was spared. Now the neighbors praised his luck, and once again, the farmer said, "Maybe." This story reminds us that events themselves are neither good nor bad. Our judgments make them so. If we learn to observe life without immediate emotional reactions, we gain a deeper understanding of the ever-changing nature of the world. But how can we train our minds to remain steady when the world around us is so chaotic? The answer lies in daily practice. Meditation, even for just a few minutes each day, helps us develop awareness of our thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. When we sit quietly and observe our breath, we learn to create space between stimulus and response. The next time you encounter upsetting news or a challenging situation, take a deep breath before reacting. Ask yourself, is this emotion helpful? Is my reaction based on truth, or am I being swayed by fear or anger? Just a moment of mindful reflection can prevent unnecessary suffering. Another powerful practice is mindful consumption. If we constantly surround ourselves with negativity, whether it's news, gossip, or social media debates, our minds will absorb that energy. Choose wisely what you expose yourself to. Seek information, but don't drown in it. Engage in discussions, but don't let them disturb your peace. In difficult times, keeping a clear mind is not about ignoring reality, but about seeing it without distortion. When emotions settle, wisdom emerges. We can navigate challenges with greater resilience, make better decisions, and remain at peace even in the midst of uncertainty. The world will always have ups and downs, but your mind doesn't have to follow every rise and fall. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by external events, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, am I seeing this clearly, or am I letting my emotions take over? In that moment of awareness, you reclaim control over your mind, and with it, your peace. 3. Cultivating compassion, the power to heal all suffering. When the world is chaotic and uncertain, the mind often becomes restless, filled with worry, fear, or even frustration. But in moments of turbulence, there is one force that has the power to bring clarity and peace, not just to yourself, but to everyone around you. That force is compassion. The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule." When you cultivate compassion, you create a refuge, not just for yourself, but for others who may be struggling. True compassion is not about grand gestures, It can be as simple as offering kind words to someone who is feeling lost, lending a listening ear, or even just sending out silent wishes of well-being to those in pain. Have you ever noticed how, when you help someone, even in a small way, you feel lighter, as if a burden has been lifted from your heart? This is because compassion dissolves the illusion of separation. It reminds us that we are all interconnected. In times of difficulty, it is easy to become consumed by our own struggles. But when we shift our focus outward, when we choose to care for others despite our own hardships, we transform suffering into strength. The Dalai Lama teaches that if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. This means that the act of giving, of showing kindness, does not deplete us. Instead, it nourishes us. It gives our lives meaning. Think about a time when someone showed you kindness during a difficult period. How did it make you feel? Did it not bring warmth to your heart, even if just for a moment? Now, consider how powerful it would be if you became that source of warmth for others. Even when you feel like you have nothing to give, compassion is always within you, waiting to be shared. Some may wonder, but what if I am too overwhelmed with my own problems? How can I think of others when I am struggling? The truth is, compassion is not about ignoring your own pain. Instead, it is about recognizing that pain, both yours and others, is universal. By helping to ease another's suffering, you often lighten your own. A gentle word to a friend, a small act of generosity, or even offering a moment of patience to someone who is struggling, these simple actions can shift the energy around you. Have you ever been in a situation where someone else's kindness changed the course of your entire day? If such a small act can have such a deep impact, imagine what consistent compassion could do, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole. There is a story in Buddhism about a bodhisattva, a being who chooses to delay their own enlightenment in order to help others reach liberation. This selfless path is driven by deep compassion, the understanding that true happiness comes not from personal gain, but from the well-being of all. And while we may not be bodhisattvas, we can embody this spirit in our daily lives. When faced with anger, respond with patience. When confronted with cruelty, choose kindness. When you see suffering, do not turn away. The world does not need more fear, resentment, or division. It needs more compassion, more understanding, more love, and that begins with you. So how will you cultivate compassion today? Will you choose to be the reason someone smiles, the reason someone feels heard, the reason someone regains hope? The mind, when filled with compassion, becomes steady even in the face of adversity. Instead of being swept away by negativity, you become anchored in kindness. And when you live with this intention, you will notice something remarkable. Your own suffering begins to ease, your mind becomes lighter, and the world around you slowly begins to transform. In the end, compassion is not just a way to help others. It is the key to finding peace within yourself. If you've watched this far, you're already taking steps toward finding inner peace and resilience, no matter what challenges life brings. Comment below with "steadfast mind" to affirm your commitment to staying strong in turbulent times. Stay with us. There's still more wisdom ahead to help you cultivate a calm and unshakable mind. Keep watching to discover the keys to true inner stability. 4. Returning to yourself. Take time for inner reflection. In the midst of life's constant changes and uncertainties, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by external chaos. But in these moments, the most powerful thing you can do is return to yourself. Turn inward, reflect, and reconnect with your inner stillness. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." No matter how turbulent the world becomes, true stability does not arise from trying to control outside circumstances, but from cultivating a mind that remains unshaken by them. This is why taking time for inner reflection is not a luxury, it is a necessity. When you pause, step away from distractions, and reconnect with yourself, you begin to see things more clearly. Meditation is a powerful way to do this. It allows you to observe your thoughts without becoming entangled in them, creating space between yourself and the constant noise of daily life. Even just a few minutes of sitting in silence, focusing on your breath, can bring profound clarity and calmness. But meditation is not the only path. Reading books that nourish the mind, whether spiritual texts or wisdom literature, can offer guidance and remind you of timeless truths. Walking in nature, listening to the rustling leaves, or feeling the ground beneath your feet can help you ground yourself in the present moment, dissolving stress and anxiety. The modern world conditions us to always be doing, achieving, and moving forward, but without moments of stillness, we lose our sense of direction. It is in these quiet moments that we realign with our values, recognize what truly matters, and find the strength to navigate life's storms. Consider this. When a lake is still, it reflects everything with clarity. But when it is disturbed, its surface becomes distorted, unable to reveal what lies beneath. Your mind is the same. If you never give it time to settle, you will always see the world through a clouded lens, reacting to situations instead of responding with wisdom. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, expressed this beautifully. Muddy water, let stand, becomes clear. When you take time for inner reflection, you allow the noise within you to quiet down, revealing the wisdom that has always been there. In modern life, where distractions are endless and expectations are high, it may seem difficult to carve out time for stillness. But reflection does not require isolation or dramatic change. It can be as simple as setting aside time each morning to sit in silence, journaling your thoughts at the end of the day, or choosing to be fully present while drinking a cup of tea. What matters is not how long you do it, but how sincerely you commit to it. The world may be unpredictable, but the steadiness you seek has always been within you, waiting for you to return to it. 5. Acting with wisdom. Don't just worry, take meaningful action. Life is unpredictable, and turbulent times can make us feel powerless, lost in a sea of worry and uncertainty. It is natural to be concerned about the future, but the question is, will worrying change anything? The Buddha taught that fear and anxiety arise from attachment to stability, to outcomes we cannot control, and to the illusion that life should always be certain. Yet, everything in life is impermanent. The Dhammapada reminds us, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Instead of allowing fear to paralyze you, shift your focus toward what is within your power. Worrying without action is like standing in a burning house without trying to escape. It only increases suffering. Wisdom is not about suppressing fear, but about seeing it clearly and responding skillfully. So how can you navigate difficult times with steadiness and strength? Start by taking care of your mind and body. A mind clouded by anxiety cannot think clearly, just as a weak body cannot withstand storms. Prioritize your health, get enough rest, eat nourishing food, and engage in physical activity that strengthens your body. When your body is strong, your mind follows. But physical well-being alone is not enough. You must also cultivate mental and emotional resilience. The Buddha often spoke about the power of right effort. Learning a new skill, reading meaningful books, or practicing meditation are all ways to sharpen your mind. Ask yourself, What can I learn today that will help me become stronger for tomorrow? Knowledge and personal growth are like planting seeds. Over time, they create a garden of stability within you. Another essential aspect of wisdom is financial preparedness. If money is a source of stress, take small but consistent steps to save and manage your resources wisely. Even in difficult times, financial discipline brings peace of mind. However, true security does not come from wealth alone. It comes from a mind that is steady and unattached. The Buddha said, "You only lose what you cling to." If you hold on too tightly to expectations, possessions, or outcomes, you will always live in fear of losing them. Instead, practice letting go. This does not mean ignoring responsibility, but rather recognizing what is in your control and what is not. When faced with uncertainty, ask yourself, am I acting wisely or am I merely reacting out of fear? The answer will guide you toward meaningful action. In every situation, you have a choice. Allow fear to dictate your actions, or cultivate wisdom and respond with clarity. When you take even one step forward, you break the cycle of helplessness. So what is one small action you can take today to build a stronger, more stable future? Remember, the path to inner peace is not about controlling everything, but about mastering your own mind. As we navigate these uncertain times, the lessons of history and the wisdom of ancient teachings remind us that change is inevitable, but how we respond to it is within our control. Nostradamus's prophecies may serve as warnings, but they also urge us to remain aware, prepared, and open to the unfolding future. What do you think? Are we witnessing the collapse of great nations, or is there another path ahead? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom for more deep dives into history, philosophy, and the mysteries of our world. And be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming videos. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time, stay curious and seek wisdom.